During the reign of King Henry VIII, there were a huge number of executions that were carried out across England. Many of the most brutal and shocking executions saw many men being condemned for treason, and then were hanged, drawn and quartered in barbaric scenes. But Henry VIII executed 70,000 people, including even 2 of his own wives, and also some of his closest friends, including Thomas Cromwell and Sir Thomas More. But during his reign, he expanded the rules on treason in terms of how someone could be found guilty of the most serious offence. Henry even took great steps to instil his reign of terror onto one cook who was allegedly found guilty of poisoning people in the house of Bishop John Fisher. Henry even allowed murder by poisoning to be incorporated into treason law, and then he would force a defendant to be boiled alive in a savage execution. But there was one woman who was executed for treason, and specifically using dark arts to bring about the death of King Henry VIII, and one of his closest advisers, Thomas Howard, the 3rd Duke of Norfolk. Mabel Brigge predicted Henry's death, and allegedly tried to manifest its happening. Join us today as we look at her execution, and remember to support our channel. Please make sure to subscribe. Mabel Brigge was born around 1506, and she for work served as a servant inside a number of different households. Whilst working inside the house of William Fisher, she was sacked from her job as Fisher suspected her of stealing, and she was also known for fasting regularly and often. But she worked then for the Nelsons, and then she was referred to the household of John Locker in Yorkshire, and then she went to work for the Lockers, arriving with her 2 children, and a note saying that Nelson would pay her wages. But in summer 1537, Mabel Brigge was hired by a lady named Isabel Buck to perform a black fast. The practice was also known as the St. Trinian's fast, and in this ritual she would not consume food, but would be harvesting energy to bring about a specific outcome. It was dependent on God's will and listening, and it was hoped that the god or evil spirit could bring about some action by engaging in a black fast. Brigge for 3 days fasted with no meat or milk consumed, and she focused her mind on prayer to bring about an end goal. She carried out the fast and told the Lockers that it was charitable, but Isabel Buck then offered Brigge a significant amount of wheat and half a yard of linen to perform the fast to recover some money that Buck had lost. This fast was sanctioned by a priest, and Brigge was allowed to perform it. But then in January 1538, shocking accusations emerged regarding Mabel Brigge and her black fast. John Locker and his wife made an audacious accusation that she was actually fasting to bring about a more sinister and deadly outcome. Mabel Brigge was thrown out of her home, and the Lockers claimed that she was fasting to kill Henry VIII and the Duke of Norfolk, and to bring about their deaths. The authorities were told of this, and it was claimed that Mabel Brigge had done this before, and had fasted to kill a man who then broke his neck and subsequently died from his injuries. Brigge then stated that John Locker had offered her money to back this up, but shockingly things escalated heavily. Alongside Isabel Buck, Mabel Brigge was accused of bringing about evil spirits that would lead to the king's death. Mabel Brigge was then taken to York and was placed on trial, and shockingly she was accused of treason. There was a great fear during the Tudor period of witches, witchcraft and evil spirits. With this, many women were accused of dealing with the dark arts and so on. Over the Tudor times and also the following centuries, hundreds of women in Britain were executed being wrongly accused of being witches. Women were often thrown into rivers accused of being a sorcerer or a witch, and others might have been dunked in rivers and may have drowned because of this. Mabel Brigge was categorised in the same light, and at her trial she was accused yet again of planning and plotting to kill King Henry VIII, and bringing about his death through her fasts. Isabel Buck was also implicated, but she was given a reprieve, but then her husband was also found guilty of attempting to pervert the course of justice by allegedly using bribery. But Mabel Brigge was not spared. The standard sentence for treason for men was being hanged, drawn and quartered, but this was not a brutal punishment deemed suitable for women. Women instead found guilty of treason were either burned at the stake or were hanged in cities, in large public executions. Mabel Brigge was sentenced to be hanged in York on the 7th of April 1538, and on this day her execution took place. She was taken to the public gallows and was brought in front of a huge crowd. Her death sentence was read out, then she was handed over to the executioner. He then secured the noose around her neck as she was stood under the gallows on a stool, and then quickly the stool was removed and she was left hanging. Mabel Brigge's crime today may be considered rather strange and bizarre, as she was trying to engage the dark arts to allegedly and supposedly bring about the death of Henry VIII. but it's believed that she was probably more so a victim of the manipulations against her of other people, such as the Lockhars, and it's believed that they had some intention to bring her downfall. It was impossible for her to try and kill the king using spirits and dark arts, and it shows us that during the Tudor period, people believed very different things to what they do today. Dissenting against Henry VIII often just resulted in one thing: someone losing their head in brutal fashion, or being executed in front of scores of the public, who were bloodthirsty and determined to witness the execution of a traitor. Thanks for watching. To support our channel, please make sure to subscribe, and once again, thank you so much for watching.